Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kremlin File. Our special guest today is Maria Avdeeva. Hello, Maria. How are you? Everything okay?
Hello, thank you for having me. Yes, everything is fine in Ukraine. When now you have heating and electricity and you're in the safe place, you can tell that you're completely fine. Yes.
Yeah. Just so that everybody knows, Maria is a research director at Expert Association. So it's research and analysis and security, info operations, and also disinformation. Maria, can you give us an update on what is happening now in Kharkiv?
Do you mean the generally about the situation in the
Yeah.
city?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's already 16 days since the war started, and Russia is changing its tactics a little bit. So what they do now, it seems like the on-the-ground operation didn't go according to the plan. So they are mostly staying and holding the positions they previously had to get control over. It means roads to the north and northeast of Kharkiv, and Ukrainian military tries to do counter-offensive operations over there. That's why Russian troops cannot move further to the city, so they cannot get control over Kharkiv and are not able to encircle it. And that's why they use aviation to bombard the residential areas in Kharkiv, and they use heavy shells for that. So every day and night you would hear, I live close to the city center, so I will hear the distant shells all around the city, and we'll see the reports coming from the local groups saying, and with the pictures of what happened during this day or during this night, new destroyed houses and people left without their homes. Also, the city center was heavily destroyed. There was a consequent period when Russian air jets were bombarding the city center, but it is for the previous couple of days they do not do that. They mostly concentrate on residential areas at the moment.
So they've basically they're attacking the civilians. They're attacking the city, right? And this is happening all over, Maria.
Yeah, that is the case. So it looks like they do not have enough troops and capacities to attack on the ground to pursue with the military operation, and that is why they attack civilians to threaten, to demoralize them, and to make people flee and to terrorize the civilian population in the city.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been shifting the tactics to that now. I mean, over the past few days, you see now they're specifically going for civilians, for families, for schools, for hospitals in order to, to demoralize civilians. And how are you holding up? How are you personally doing? How is your family? And also, what made you stay? Because there were some people who moved over to Western Ukraine, but you decided you wanted to stay and document everything. And I check your feed on Twitter every morning to see, your latest pictures, your latest updates. So what made you stay, and how are you, and how's everyone?
It's good to know that my work helps. I asked my family to evacuate from Kharkiv at the beginning, so they are in Ukraine, but in more safer place than Kharkiv. It is not safe anymore now in Ukraine in any city, because of course you know that Lviv, Yavoriv polygon was under attack this night. Ivano-Frankivsk, which is the most western part of Ukraine, then the central part is also under attacks regularly. So it's not safe, but then of course it is safer there than it would be in Kharkiv. And I was fighting with Russian disinformation since 2014, when the war initially started, when Russia waged the war at first time. And since that, I was trying to do my best at revealing Russian tactics and mechanisms and how they were preparing for this war as well, because we have seen for the past half year that they were creating the ground for this new offensive, new aggression. And that is why when the war started, I actually at that day I had the ticket to go to Kiev on the conference to speak about new wave of Russian disinformation. And when I heard the air sirens and the sounds of the shelling and understood that it is now the war has started, in a couple of hours I crystallized. I became aware that my mission for now should be to reveal Russian war crimes here in Ukraine and to speak about what Russia is doing to innocent cities and civilians, because I saw that at the very moment they started military operation, they started the disinformation campaign. It is the most heavy disinformation campaign I have ever seen. So they just completely turn everything upside down, claiming that they do not kill civilians, claiming that they do not attack residential areas, that it is some special military operation, the aim of each of which is denazification of Ukraine. And Kharkiv, you know, of course, is a Russian-speaking city. There is no one here who should be denazified. So I understood that there should be as many people as possible that give information to the world about what is actually happening on the ground, because Russia will invest and is investing many resources in this disinformation campaign, trying to persuade their own population and the Western community that that is not the war they're waging now. This is military operation, and it's because Ukraine has planned to attack Russia. That's what Russian media constantly say, that Ukraine was planning an attack together with US and other NATO countries, and that's why Russia has to defend itself. So to show that this is complete lies, I want to stay here and show everyday pictures of Russian war crimes.
Wow. Wow. And
Thank
I
you.
mean, you go out. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you go out every morning, because I know I watch your videos and I watch, everything. And you started, I remember reading one of your tweets, Maria, where you said that, you described how it was terrifying to be at home, and you slept out in the hallway. And then in the morning you went out and you were taking pictures and videos of everything, all the devastation and everything.
Yes, I live quite close to the city center. So when the Russian fighter jets dropped bombs on the historical center of Kharkiv, I could have hear it very clearly. And if I peeked out of the window, I seen that these explosions all over the city center. And I actually had possibility to go out only once a day, because all the elevators are not working in the city, and I live in the upper floor. So it kind of takes your time and efforts to get to get down. It's okay, but then to get up, it takes some of your effort. So I usually get out once a day, and then I take this time to go to the shop and try to find some food, because there are food shortages in the city, and of course you cannot get any medical things. The pharmacies are mostly closed as well. And at that moment when I am outside, I try to film and capture videos of as many destructions in the city as possible, because I know that there are few international journalists here, because it is dangerous to stay in the city. And so I know the city very well. It's my hometown. I know every street here and every building, is I somehow have some memories about this place. So I go there and take videos of what it looks like now, and planning to stay in Kharkiv as long as possible, because it is very hard to predict what will be the next Russian tactics.
Yeah. Go ahead, Olga. Go.
As far as the food situation and the medical situation, we know that Russia has been strategically attacking humanitarian corridors. They, lies. They set up a ceasefire in order to use terrorist tactics, to allow citizens to leave and then start bombing them. What is the situation there? How is food getting into the city? And how is Russia doing the same with humanitarian corridors in Kharkiv for people who want to leave?
Well, Kharkiv is not blocked at the moment, so there is a possibility to leave the city. They would probably want to blockade it, but it is not the case at the moment. But when you leave the city, it is not safe, because any moment you are moving in your car along the road, you can become a target for Russian missile, because they do not stop shelling the city and the roads, of course. So when the family leaves the city, they do it in their own risk. And also people use railway station and railway transportation a lot. But then today we've got the report that one of the trains was under shelling as well. So it's not also the safe way. But there are many volunteer groups who provide supplies to the city using their own cars. And I'm in contact with some of them, and they bring in the city humanitarian aid, because we have so many help coming from all our friends throughout the world. But of course, for this large city, it's not enough, and it's the situation. So there is no possibility for normal food chain supply of food. So there are some shops and you can find something, but of course it's not the situation when you can speak that everything you might need you can find. Especially there is no possibility to get fresh products like milk and meat and the eggs, so the necessary products for your everyday life. But then people are not starving. It is possible to get some food for now. While so this is the situation in Kharkiv, but then there are some small towns outside which are now controlled by Russia, and the situation there is very critical. So that is humanitarian crisis there at the moment. One of such cities is Izum on the eastern part of Kharkiv region. It is completely blockaded. People cannot leave the city. No supplies are possible to the city, and the people there have no access to food and medicine. So that is what Russia does now. That is what they are doing in Mariupol, and in other cities they take control over. But Kharkiv is holding good. The only difficulty is that it used to be 1.5 million city. Many people have left, but since so it's anyway, there are many people still in the city. And I have talked to volunteers. The elderly people are in critical situation because they are stuck in their apartment. They cannot leave because it is, for example, it is hard for them to go downstairs and get up. And the volunteers try to supply them food just in their houses and apartments. So people help each other. People are united, but of course it is quite difficult.
My God. Maria, how about the volunteer groups that you're talking about? No, this was the city itself, people in the city that organized. How were they working?
Yes, people self-organized. I am so surprised. I'm surprised, and at the same, I am very proud of how Ukrainians united during this war, because these are people that decided to stay in Kharkiv, like myself. But for example, I see my role in this information battlefield, but they continue doing their volunteering. So they supply food deliveries, they help elderly people, they help to people for evacuate. For example, if a volunteer has a car, he will drive out people of the city to the safer place, say to Dnipro, then get some humanitarian aid and bring it back to Kharkiv and then distribute it in the city. And that continues. And other groups are preparing food, like making food in big quantities in their own apartments and then bringing it to the shelters, because people are those who are now whose houses were destroyed and who have no place to go. They live in the shelters and in the underground. There is no possibility, of course, to prepare some food there, and that volunteers bring there some warm food, tea, and other necessities.
My God, my God.
Maria, you mentioned Mariupol. That's something that I've been, carefully monitoring. And for people who don't know, Russia completely encircled the city and blockaded it. We are getting reports, besides Russia killing civilians in there, we're getting reports they're going house to house, raping women, stealing from the stores. The city has what, close to 400,000 people living in it. How have you gotten any updates on that? And are people inside still able to document what is happening and to get it out so we can eventually prosecute Russia for war crimes?
I think that is difficult in Mariupol, so the situation is critical there. People are without any kind of supplies for so long time. And we all have seen this awful images when the maternity ward, the maternity hospital was targeted. And again, Russia is continuous shelling the residential areas. People have no heating, no electricity, no food supplies. We were looking for some people inside Mariupol to get information from there. But what Russia does when they get control over some city, they immediately cut off the network. So people won't be able to communicate what is happening to the outer world, to Ukraine. And that is the case, for example, in Kherson as well, where they try to cut off the network. They also target immediately TV networks and TV towers, so that the Ukrainian television and channels won't be available for the people in that area. So of course, it is seen as a complete war against humanity. What is Russia doing in this occupied territories? Completely cutting off people out of everything and trying to get control over there, making them, to, for example, as we see in Kherson, to vote for the so-called republics. Trying to drag this Russian world to the occupied territories with every means that are possible. But still, it is good to know that Mariupol is still holding, and the Ukrainian military and territorial defense units are fighting for the city. So it's not completely so Russia cannot gain control over the city, but I don't know for how much will the city will be able to carry on in this fight, because it's like, blockaded and terrified city.
My God.
Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of all these beautiful places, Maria. Kharkiv and Mariupol, and I've seen a lot of videos, let's say before, the war, before this, let's say, latest attack, because we know that Ukraine has been at war for 8 years. Can you tell us a little bit about, because Kharkiv itself was a city that was extremely vibrant with lots of universities. There's also a very strong, let's say, Russian heritage. There's a lot of people there that have Russian heritage. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Kharkiv was always a big industrial scientific center, and there were many universities inside the city. So it is the second largest city of Ukraine, and it always was, as you have said, very vibrant, with many people outside during the evening and daytime. You would see crowds of young people and students and families on the streets in the center walking, and there were many cafes and restaurants where people would spend their time. And it is an intellectual city, because many people here are working in the universities, in the scientific centers, and places where the so-called intellectual elite of Ukraine is situated. So and of course, what is striking and what people here in Kharkiv cannot grasp and cannot understand is this unprovoked attack on the city, because as you have said, Kharkiv is a Russian-speaking city, and people here always had some kind of relations with the nearby Russia, because it is only 40 kilometers from Kharkiv, so it is very close. And before the war in 2014, people were traveling and had some connections, some family connections. Of course, after the war had started in 2014, it was not the same way anymore. But anyway, people in Kharkiv were never threatening Russia with anything. They always wanted to live in peace with the neighbor, though the neighbor who was attacking Ukraine and occupying Ukrainian Donbass and Crimea, but still no one wanted the war to come to our homes, because we have seen what happened to Donbass, to Lugansk and Donetsk, and no one wanted this situation to happen in Kharkiv. There was an attempt by Russia already in 2014 to seize the city, because we have seen that they have brought here Russian-speaking people from Russia on the buses with Russian flags, who wanted also to organize there another republic. It didn't go according to the plan, and one of the reasons was because of the people of Kharkiv itself, who are the intellectual heart of Ukraine, and who didn't want to live in any kind of situation that Russia will have control over the city. And that is why I think why Putin is so furious, and the Russia is trying to destroy the city, because they were probably planning and considering that Russian soldiers and troops will not see this such fierce resistance, because it is a Russian-speaking city. But no way, and no one in Kharkiv, has nothing at the moment, has no other feelings at the moment than people are angry, and they cannot understand how this could be happening, and how Russia started this war against the people who speak the same language as them.
Yeah, it must have been a complete shock when everything started. A complete
yes,
shock.
Exactly.
Because they also have probably family as well, no? I mean, just a few kilometers away in Russia.
Exactly. One of the shot. Ukrainian troops shot one of the Russian fighter jets and captured the pilot. And he was speaking on the camera, and he said that his family members live in Ukraine. And he was asked by the reporters, how on earth could you bombard the cities where your family members live? So of course, yes, people are closely connected, and still there are some connections, and it is out of understanding of how this could be happening. And people here cannot understand that. But I also would like to mention what is important to know, that I see that this tendency now in international media that people only blame Putin. So they saying that he is the one who is responsible for everything, and Russian people are not aware and probably would like to protest, but they cannot. Well, I don't think that this is the point, and in general is the feeling in Ukraine that so Putin was elected, and people in Russia support this war. And there are some people who are against, but they cannot go and protest. So generally, it's not only the war that Putin wages, but this is a Russian war, because all those who take part in it, who kill Ukrainians, who are the pilots of the fighter jets dropping bombs on innocent civilians, all those people are also responsible. So it's not the responsibility of one person only.
Yeah.
Maria, you spoke about the facilities, and I have two questions. One, you spoke about the facilities in Kharkiv, and about a week ago, Russian military shelled the nuclear facility in Kharkiv, a research facility, which raised alarms. But what was even I think more frightening is by that evening in Russian news, and it started breaking across all Russian news channels, was a defense ministry statement that Ukrainian soldiers and nationalists rigged the facility in order to cause a nuclear attack. That is a complete lie. What do you see? Whose control is this center under now? Because we know Russia seized 2 nuclear power plants already. How is the situation there? And do you see, does Russia have this facility center in their sights?
What is happening? What is Russian disinformation aimed at? That they claim for some period of time already that Ukraine has some kind of a nuclear program, which is completely untrue and lie, and that Ukraine is preparing to use a dirty bomb against Russia. So this is the general narrative, and Russia now is targeting Ukrainian nuclear facilities to give the ground for this narrative, like they would like to show something, some so-called evidences of that. And this is in Kharkiv, we have the Institute of Physics and Technology located very close to the city. It was actually shelled 2 times. And the second time, which happened several days ago, the institute was so it was destroyed. Some of the facilities were destroyed. The nuclear facilities are safe, but there was some destruction on the territory of the institute, and it is completely so it's made for experimental purposes only. We have a big new university with this faculty on physics and technology, and students making their studying there about who studied these programs. Also, it was used for medical purposes, and they developed the the treatment for cancer using these facilities, nuclear facilities. So, but this is really very threatening and very worrying trend. So the territory is now completely controlled by Ukraine. So Russia didn't get control and is not in control of the institute, but still it is very close. The institute itself is situated probably no more than 20 kilometers from the border with Russia. And so, of course, any moment they can again try to attack the institute and the nuclear facilities. And what is happening is gives us sense that Russia actually is preparing some kind of false flag operation that can happen any moment. So they might provoke something or do something and then accuse Ukraine in that, because claiming that Ukraine has been researching and was preparing a duty nuclear bomb, claiming that Ukraine is preparing chemical weapons to use against Russia, and all that sort of things, they are coming. So they have one concrete aim, is to accuse Ukraine in some kind of such attack. So that means that Russia any moment can actually fulfill this attack and then accuse Ukraine to make this, so to give grounds for these accusations. And that's why we are here very worried that it can happen any moment and anywhere, because we see also that apart from the control over nuclear facilities, it is said that Russia is also trying to get into the Ukrainian territory the chemical weapons, and that means that they are preparing for that, and we should take it very seriously.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, Russia, when the defense ministry used to come out with these warnings that Syrians are preparing, US and white helmets were preparing chemical attacks on Syrian soil. It was actually, one did happen, and it would be by Assad and Russian forces. So, I mean, they have a history of using the same, thing.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Using the same playbook as it was in Syria.
Exactly. And we're seeing all of the disinformation cutting across all sorts of platforms here in the West, okay, as well. Everything that you're talking about, Maria, we also see it reflected, all of the, the trolls, the Russian trolls, all of the media. and we see it cutting across, and this has to be pushed back very, very hard. Very, very hard. Olga, you have the...
Yeah, to wrap up, what do you want the world to know?
Yes.
Tell us what you want us to do. What can we do more? What can the people do more? What can governments do more? Because, Ukraine has been in war, under attack for 8 years. And I mean, for the most part, no one paid attention. And now people are paying attention. So now, what is the message for everyone?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for the support, because Ukraine now feels that we are united with the world as never before, and we see the European countries, US, Canada, Britain, all over countries throughout the world supporting Ukraine. But we need more support, and we need support from the air for the first place, because that is what Russia uses to terrorize Ukrainians. And this attack on Yavoriv near Lviv, which is only 20 kilometers from the border with Poland, is a clear sign that Russia is not going to stop in Ukraine. So if the Western community does not stand up firmly with Ukraine on this, and does not give more support to defend Ukrainian airspace, it means that Putin will go next to Poland, he will go to Baltic states, and he is not going to stop, because he is already in the total war against everyone and against the West. And it's not only Ukraine which Putin is targeting. He is targeting the democracy and the democratic world as a whole. And that is why I would ask all of you to push and to support this Ukrainian demand for anti-aircraft systems, for more air defense systems, for fighter jets supplied to Ukraine. And also we are in this information warfare, and Russia will try and is trying to manipulate the opinions, and especially targeting the Western communities. So please be aware of that, and help spread the word about the actual information, what is happening here in Ukraine, because everyone now is a target for Russian malign information influence, and only together and united we can defend our world and generally our societies against this disinformation.
And we're with you, Maria. We're with
Thank
you,
you.
and all of
Thank you.
Ukraine.
Thank you so much.
And lastly, Maria, where can people find your work, and where can they follow you, and where can they find your work?
I'm mostly so I put most of what I of my videos on Twitter, so you can follow there. Try to put as much information there as possible, and also not only my videos but general analysis of the information on Ukraine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay safe, and
thank you.
We are here with you.
Thank you for this great possibility. I really appreciate any moment I can tell people about the situation in Ukraine, and it's really very important for me and for Ukrainians generally. Thank you so much.
Please follow Maria on Twitter at Maria, MARIA _AVDV. And this is where she posts her research and her latest videos and updates of everything that is happening in Ukraine.
Hey, everybody, if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, and please visit our website, kremlinfile.com. This is a Bunker Crew Media production, hosted by Olga Lautman and me, Monique Camara, with executive producers Marley Clements, Jack Bryan, Grant DeSimone, Ben Brett, and Jordy Mycelis of Midas Media, with associate producers Ruby Frankel and Sarah Metz. Theme music by Oreste Camarra. Sound editing and mixing by Joy Ellett. Subscribe to Kremlin File wherever you listen to podcasts.